Yes, sir. We are live. Saturdays are for the big dogs. Big dog, Q and Assault. What is going on, everybody? Ask me anything. The theme of today's show, the theme of every Saturday for the big dog. We got Matt Higgins in here. Yer. We got Jacob in here. Yer. You know what it is, man. Everybody's in here with a yer. Come on, man. Hit me with your meanest, best yer. We've got William in the house, Andrew in the house. What's going on, fellas? How we doing on this fine Saturday? It is hot and humid, and we're going to get right to it. Heint. We got a Heint in here, and I know Matt Higgins was excited for this Q and Assault session. I know you had a Dynasty team you said you wanted me to take a look at, and you want to know what my thoughts are. Well, I'm here, and there will be no sugarcoating while I'm drinking a Red Bull with a lot of sugar in it. What's good, James? What's going on, everybody? How we doing on this fine Saturday, man? And is there any questions you have for me that pertain to Dynasty or don't pertain to Dynasty? It's all welcome. Saturdays are for the big dogs, man. Things are going nicely, man. Got a bunch of people in here ready to kick it, talk, shop. Oh man, Matt wants to see what his team looks like in the same league that William was in. William is in, but that I looked at of Williams last week. So I pulled a Rams. Oh boy, I pulled a Rams and sold my entire future for a chip. Hopefully, well, that's obviously the goal when you sell your future. It's actually interesting because I would say way more often than not, I prefer to keep my flexibility in my picks during a startup. However, I'm going to be releasing some videos. I got one that's almost done coming out. You should have it, if not Monday, by Tuesday this week. That's going to be more generic Dynasty startup talk. And then I'm in a startup right now. And I'm going to show you some of the details of that league and some of the things I did to kind of build that league out. It's actually a South Harmon league that we're going to be dedicating a documentary we're going to release after the season based on some of the moves and some of the things that we did in that league. Eric Van Eck, who does content with me over at South Harmon, we're going to be releasing that after the season's over. We're calling it The Grind. Kind of going through the waiver wire, the trades, and all that stuff. But I did actually send in my first and second in the startup to get the team that I have. So sometimes when the right opportunity presents itself, I will pounce just as well. So Matt, go ahead, give me your username, man. We'll hop over to the lab. I know I can't remember all the specifics. Maddie, is it JH? Is it 6? I forget exactly what it is. Let me know what it is, and I'll pull it up. James says, while he's giving me his sleeper username, I just traded JT and Smitty for Waddle and Henderson and a third. What do you think? So one of the things, too, James and everybody else out there, if you can, when you throw me questions like this, I like to have as much context as possible. So are we talking, super flex? Are we talking one quarterback? Are we talking 10-team, 12-team, 14-team? Just stuff like that, at least on the minimum, will help me answer. If I answered this generically, though, as a trade in a, let's call it 12-team Superflex league, I think I would rather have. I would say this: JT and Henderson are close enough in value that they would wash as far as their dynasty value. Now, if you really prefer Henderson or you really prefer JT, I can get that. But that part of the trade, I think, is a wash. I do think Smitty over Waddle, and I'd probably send a third in a lineup start 9 or start 10 to acquire Smitty. But if you believe in a Waddle bounce back, I think it makes plenty of sense to go ahead and try to grab that extra third if you think Waddle can hold serve with Smitty, which isn't crazy. So I would say more often than not, if I'm a contender, I'd probably rather have in a shallow lineup league JT and Smitty. But there's definitely a process on the Waddle and Henderson side, especially if you're trying to just sort of get younger, retool, or rebuild. I think it's really close in value though. But if you made me force my hand, I would probably take the JT and the Smitty side in most settings. Oh wow, 3 quarterback, 12-team PPR. That's interesting. The 3 QBs are always wild. Now, is it like a 1 quarterback with 2 superflex? Regardless, it's crazy. But if you actually had to start 3 quarterbacks every week, those are insane. But I love that. I would say in that league, if you have to start 3 quarterbacks, I don't know. I want to lean the package, but I just don't know how much more a third is actually going to entice people to grab a QB. But that third, right? For example, in this league, if you'd probably have to get into the second round, actually, maybe trading up from the third to the second. But like this year, I'd be much more interested in grabbing ahead of cost guys like Shuck, guys like Shadur, all those type of players. So I actually kind of feel like I'd be a little more okay with the package here. 2 QB, 1 Superflex. Yeah, this is why I want to have the context, because that's a D-gen type of a league. I'd love to see it. His quarterbacks are currently May, Hurts, and Baker. Yeah. And you said you got the I think I'd rather have the Waddle side slightly here. It's close enough in value that if I could get that extra third, as much as I could to try to go buy, even like that, would be able to potentially buy you a spot start quarterback during injury weeks. So, or bye weeks. Sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and get into Maddie's league here. Maddie, I knew it. Dude, you know what's crazy? I think I got that right. Am I a sicko? I don't know if that's in a good way, but probably yes is the answer to that. Let me get your questions up here. All right. Oh, but that also gets rid of my ass. My bad. All right. So Maddie says, Maddie JH. So I got it here. Let me type this in. And let's get right to it. Let's take a peek at what we're working with here. So which league was this? I'm sure if I see all your leagues, I can pull it up if I can remember. Was it footballers? I'm trying to remember, honestly. No. What's the league, Maddie, that you want me to look at? I forget the name of it already. You're in 11 leagues, so I know your username, but I'm not that in touch with the whole thing. Andrew's got some good questions. He's wrapping up a startup draft. I got him starred, and I'll get right to him, all right? The league is the footballers. All right, so I was right. Okay. So let's take a look at what you've done. Now, this is out of a startup, so let's go ahead and, with that context in mind, we got Brock Purdy, we've got Amari Hampton, Chase Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, and A.J. Brown in the flex with Rashee Rice. Damn. That's 4 really damn nice receivers, dude. We've got T.J. Hawk at tight end. I'm imagining this cost a lot of your future. But Brock Purdy and Dak, I love the quarterback, especially considering you do have Amari Hampton and Chase Brown still. So this is a start 11, I believe, right? So we're at 2. Oh, no, this is going to be start 10, I think. Yeah, start 10. I like the team so far. Let's take a look at the bench. We got Tootin off the bench, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Najee Harris. Plenty of depth with ETN as well at the running back position. We've got Devontae Adams, currently not in the lineup. So Devontae Adams could be in your flex while you kind of wait and see a little more with what's going to happen with Ayuk, how he's going to look and how that situation shakes out. Jalen McMillan, Rashid Shaheed, Christian Watson. Got Deontay. I love to see Dante Thornton, man. Sleeper, getting a lot of hype right now for the Raiders. Terrence Ferguson, Elijah Roy, Noah Fant. So you have sold everything in 26 except for the 3rd and 4th, and you sold all 27. Okay. I mean, I imagine that's kind of what you have to do to build a team like this. I will say down to first, this is, I mean, regardless of that situation, this is a team that obviously should compete. I've had some really great built teams that have a bunch of potholes that you hit throughout like the season, which can make things obviously difficult when you don't have your picks. One of the things I would say to you is that I would, if possible, obviously, like if you end up finding out Dylan Gabriel's the starter for the Browns, which I don't expect that to be right away, I would just constantly be thinking about, trying to add in a cheap quarterback 3 that you could put into your lineup at some point if you ended up having that injury. Because what you basically don't want to do, or you don't have without the flexibility of your future, is you either have to like disassemble your team, right? You have to trade away legitimate assets that you probably spent a lot to acquire, like Rashee Rice, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, to go get that quarterback in the event that either Dak or Brock Purdy was to get hurt. So it doesn't even have to be a super expensive QB, but I would kind of be wanting to make sure throughout the year I'm acquiring it doesn't have to be the highest end quarterback, but some kind of a quarterback 3 that I feel comfortable with, or would at least like make sure this team can, it's kind of like Flex Seal, right? You put it on the hole so that you don't have a complete disaster to your team at that super flex spot. But I think you've built it really well, man. I mean, Chase Brown, all those running backs off the bench. You have a lot of depth at running back, even if you have injuries there. Your wide receivers are really strong at the top, and having Devontae Adams' depth there. I think coming out of a startup, you've built it really well. Now you just kind of have to, knock on wood, hope and pray that we don't have too much injuries happening to you. Because one of the things, too, I love having T.J. Hockenson as the tight end in this type of a build where I think he has very realistic opportunity to be a top 5 option this year and keep you within striking distance of I would not project T.J. Hockenson to outscore Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, but I think he keeps you within, it gives you a puncher's chance if that makes sense to score right in the range of those guys, if not possibly higher. Yeah, well done, buddy. Yeah, so and this is a good point too, right? So if you have when you're looking at the lab, they organize the keep trade cut starters by the starting value of your roster based on what keep trade cut says, right? So, and they also insert the data is pulled from Sleeper's API and is inserted in as the value on Sleeper. So yeah, definitely that's kind of what I figured. So yes, in his lineup right now, he has Devontae Adams in for Brandon Ayuk, right? But Brandon Ayuk slightly higher on keep trade cut value wise, so that's why his lineup looks like this, which is a good preface. Okay, now see, this is the thing. While I don't typically like to trade in my futures, right? I'm in particular talking about my first. Now, I would obviously love to have my second and third and so forth, but I'm more than willing to send my 26 second straight up for Hawk in a startup. That's crazy. So was he selected, or did you select him? And then, more importantly, what was the startup pick? That's crazy. I'm going to start up right now. By the way, I got the questions starred here. I'm going to get to them. I just want to see where he went. In our startup that I'm in right now, he got selected in front of us in round 7. Let's see. I'm sorry, he got selected in round 6. So it was the 6-10 in a tight end premium league. So, anyway, yeah, it's a really good deal, man. I would do that all the time. William says you're welcome, Matt. Did you make that trade with him, William? Did you send him for a second? Damn. Oh, it was after the startup. The person who drafted Hawk also drafted Ingram, so was selling one of them. Yeah. Okay. Well done, my friend. All right, Andrew, I got you pulled up. James, by the way, I hope that made sense where I was at. Let me know, did you actually get the Waddle and Henderson side, or did you get the JT and Smitty side? And then give me your process. Or tell me why you made the trade, because I think I could definitely see the package side with the quarterback having to start as many quarterbacks as you are. So he's just wrapping up a startup. Curious to see your thoughts on the lineup. 12-team start 10, Superflex, full PPR, half tight end premium. Got it. I'll tell you what, Andrew, since I got the lab already up here, go ahead. I do have this comment up. Let me know what your Sleeper username is, and I'll pull this up on the lab. Give everybody watching or, live with us at the moment a little better, a little better visual on this. But while you're doing that, Mahomes, J.J. McCarthy, and Anthony Richardson, I do like that. Hampton, Kyron, Caleb Johnson, Travis Etienne, Wilson, A.J. Brown. So that's Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown, Rashee Rice, Ricky Pearsall, Josh Downs, and Leggett. We've got Njoku and Ertz at tight end. Well, I really like this team coming out of a startup, honestly. I think it's funny you guys both have Hampton on your team, but your running backs, like with Kyron, right? I think Kyron, at least for what we project, obviously there's plenty of noise if you want to go look for it, good or bad, for Kyron Williams at the moment. But Kyron as your stable running back one, and then kind of getting the opportunity to see what's going to happen between Hampton, Caleb, and Travis Etienne in those backfields that are ambiguous right now, right? Then you have Garrett Wilson, who I'm still very in on, and I think is kind of becoming I don't know how to explain it, but he's getting a lot of. He had a very good season last year, right? I understand he didn't quite hit the lofty expectations that everybody probably had for him, like top 5, but he finished anywhere from 10 to 12, typically in PPR formats, depending on what your scoring fluctuations could be. So he had a really good year. I'm very in on him at cost. A.J. Brown, Rashee Rice. I ended up leaving with A.J. Brown and Rashee Rice as well in the startup I'm in right now. So I love this team. I think you have a good, healthy blend of upside and youth, as well as legit options that can give you contending, like surefire points right out of the gates. So I love that. Let's see. So yeah, okay. William says he wasn't the Hawk trade, but Andrew, whenever you can, let me know your sleeper username, and I'll pull this. We'll dig into this. Just on the surface, though, I like this team. So everyone watching, I'll go ahead and just until well, that's awesome. That's fantastic stuff. There we go. I'm back. While no one was home, but while I'm waiting for that, I'll just to keep confusion out of this. I'm reading the comment, not that was Matt's team. So I like this quite a bit. But if you let me know your username, I can get into the lab. Good question. Will it still pull up in the final rounds of the draft? It probably. We could always test it. I would say though, one of two things typically happen. Either I would say typically it actually doesn't, because it won't be able to fill out the teams, so you just won't see it as an option on the lab. So good to let me know that ahead of time, because it just wouldn't come up as a leak on the lab until it's finished. So let's get to this. William gave me Marlon Hampton, Chase Brown, and A.J. Brown, though. Ooh, I see where the "you're welcome" comes from. And I did look at Williams' team, though, and I feel like he did a pretty good job. So that's one of the things I was in trade talks with somebody during a startup where you could tell he wanted to sell a 7th-round pick for – you could really tell he wanted to move that pick. And I didn't want to quite send him the first just straight out for that pick. So I ended up making it where there was a pick swap built in, where we moved up from the 9-10, I believe it was, to the 7-12. And, he was going back and forth with me about, like, I don't want to make this too good for you. Don't want to make your team too good out of the gates. I'm like, there's a world where we both can end up winning in this trade. And a lot of times I feel like the best fantasy trades and dynasty trades are where both teams end up coming out in a position where they like the trade. So it makes sense to me. Yeah, James says, I got Waddle and Henderson for youth and upside. Smitty will never be the one, and Hill could retire soon. Yeah, honestly, I was strongly considering grabbing Waddle, and the startup I was in, we ended up going with Matthew Golden instead. I could definitely see wanting to take Waddle. The reason for taking Matthew Golden, I think he's the type of player that has, like, Waddle's value is becoming more cemented. He definitely, I think, if has a bounce back season, could have a value bump. But Matthew Golden, I think, with a pop week or two, could have a big value spike, which is the reason that we ended up leaning to Matthew Golden there. But he was in strong consideration, and I think a lot of the reasons you're talking about, with Hill potentially getting older, not looking as good as he did in the past, or a surefire, top 5, top 10 wide receiver, and then Waddle I think is almost due for a bounce back inherently, regardless. I'm hoping though, knock on wood, he can stay on the field. He's had a lot of hard time staying on the field, playing, getting banged up during games and stuff. So I think a lot of it will come down to his health. Yeah, Tidal Wave 1, Tidal Wave with a 1 in it is the sleeper user. Yeah, but you're right, though. If you haven't completed the startup, it won't pull up on the lab just yet. William says he's working on making a 3-team trade. I like to call these a menage a trois. Let's go. I'm curious your opinion on give, get. So one of the things about the 3-team trades, right? We do a Dynasty trade show at South Harmon every week as well. And the best way to, in a 3-team trade, literally just focus on what you're giving and what you're getting if you're involved in the trade. And when I break down those trades, it's very much like looking at each one of the 3 trades individually. Unfortunately, with 3-team trades, there's normally someone in the trade that's getting the short end of the stick, so to speak. But you're going to get Dart, Jameis, Jack Besh, a first and a second, giving up Mahomes, Mixon, Debo, and a 4th. Man. Okay, so when I'm breaking this down, I'll be honest, I don't love it for you. Personally. There's probably a lot of different reasons why, but like I'm okay with going to Jackson Dart or having Jackson Dart in my rotation of quarterbacks. And Mahomes is typically someone I like to pivot off of if I can get full boat value for Mahomes or close to it. The problem I'm seeing here is basically there's a couple things with Jackson Dart that do worry me if I'm trading away someone as high up as Mahomes. Excuse me. While he is a first-round pick, it was a late first, right? They moved into the first without trading away really any future picks out there. And the reason I think that's important to note is that this team has an incredibly hard strength of schedule, and coming up, if they play really poor, right, you don't even have necessarily Russ in here, which would possibly make it a little different. But there's also a scenario where, like, if you had Russ in here, you probably have, well, you don't probably, you do have the starter basically throughout the season. But if this team is really poor, they're going to end up moving on from Schoen and Dayball, I very strongly believe, if they're awful, right, and they're earning the top 5 pick, which now means completely new regime with a top 5 pick, and next year's class has multiple quarterback options that are going to be first-round selections in the NFL draft. All that to say, I don't love getting off of Mahomes without getting something a little more secure back at the quarterback position if I'm only getting a first and a second. So, like, Jack Besh and Mixon, close enough, I could swap that. But I really don't think I would want to ideally go from Mahomes to Dart, Jameis in a first and a second, personally. Now, if you want to do this, here's I guess the caveat. If you wanted to do this, it's close enough in value. I probably don't love it for you, but if you wanted to go ahead and do this, I would need to know that you have a bunch of other picks and you're kind of stockpiling a bunch of picks in the future, like in 26, right, or in 27, so that you can replace with another quarterback option in the draft, or package these picks up to go get one. But that's kind of the whole reason why I don't want to do this. Is like what I don't want to have to do now is Jackson Dart's not the starter. They move on from him, and I have to go buy myself with all the picks or other value I've been accruing a completely new starting quarterback, because that typically costs a shit ton. I'm not quite here, Maddie, but I do hear you. And there's the lack of noise or news around Jack Besh is concerning. I will say a little bit. I'm not quite here, but I get the point. Russ would be a later trade if this goes through. Yeah, but you know what that means, right? And you better hope the person doesn't see this, because if I have Russ and I know you trying to get the whole room, I have leverage over you. So I hope. All right. So yeah, he says you should see where I'm at already. If you're stockpiling picks and you know that you're going to probably have to potentially get more quarterbacks later on, cool. And you can also try to sell Jackson Dart at some point during the year while he's the starting quarterback. So in that scenario, right, that's why I like to talk the full context and talk with people, kind of walking through their thoughts on how their team building and their trade. Because if this is the lane you're going, I think it makes a ton of sense. Definitely. Time to get Russ before you. Maddie's going to buy Russ. Honestly, that would be raw. That would be a raw dog move. But I love the energy. Yeah, it's close enough in value. William, I guess the other thing is, like, the reason 3-team trades are so hard, right, is you have to get on the same page as somebody else to make a trade, which is already hard enough to get a trade done. But now there's a third person in the mix, which I imagine some of these assets are coming from, that has to agree as well. Getting 2 people to agree on a trade is hard enough. You get 3 people to agree on a trade. I feel like a lot of times that's why someone ends up kind of losing kind of clearly in the deal. I feel like there's you're being involved in a 3-team trade. There's like an allure to that, which ends up, if they get done, somebody's got incentive of, all right, I want to be a part of this 3-team trade. Oh, okay. Matt's the GOAT league mate for real, though. Listen, I don't doubt that. Matt is one of the big dog GOATs. Easily. So if you are in the trade and Matt agrees, and it basically comes down to this third person agreeing, okay. If that's what you're going to get back in the deal, I can sign off on your side, knowing the context of it. James, though, anybody else here with us? I see we got a handful of you in here. We got 5. So if you got questions on your team, man, feel free. I know Jacob's in here. I saw Jacob way early in the show. Let me know if you guys want to talk through workshop some stuff, you want to look at your teams, whatever the case may be. Your wish is my command. Did I say Big Dog League? Well, it's not official, by the way. I didn't. Whatever I said, I probably misspoke. But I will say I am working on trying to get something like that to happen throughout this off season. But none of that is official, for the record. But yeah, here's what I was saying. If you're in the league with William, I was like, okay, if this is like maybe a big dog league, but this is footballers league. But I will say here, I'm working on it. I don't have anything official, so I'm not going to commit to it. But I am actually working on trying to get a big dog members league going here. So I'll keep you apprised. Yeah. Yep. I'll tease it, but it's not, I haven't got it signed off on yet. We'll see. Okay. You're chilling? Yeah, I mean, here's the other thing too, right? Everything's been quiet around my leagues. Currently getting a draft together for my brand new startup. This is what you just said in both of these things. This is why I think this is such a good time for startups. Two things. One, a lot of times, and I've talked about this on a video in the past. Maybe I'll do it again coming up here soon, touching on some of these subjects where, like, I think knowing the times in activity that are more than likely to be the case, in the large majority of leagues, is important. Right now, like once your rookie draft is over, some of that draft hype starts to die down, and we're waiting basically for that redraft mindset to kick in. You're going to have a lot of chilling in your leagues typically, because people basically get to the point where they're happy with their roster construction, they believe in their team, or their situation the other end, and they're clearly punting, and they don't really have any desirable assets they can move for a pick that makes sense. You get kind of gridlocked. But that's exactly why getting a new draft and a new startup is exactly what you want to do. But I don't want to hype it up too much. What I don't want to see people doing is just getting in too many leagues that they're not going to have as much fun, or that they're going to feel overwhelmed at the same time. But I do think most people here are in that DJ mindset where they're hella teams. Matt's hype. Yeah. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. So there's nothing guaranteed, but I am working on trying to do that. And I'll let you guys know, man. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So I'm working on it. All right. I'm working on it. Just so you know, specifically, the trade with Matt was Caleb, a first and a second for Hampton and Najee. Okay. Caleb, a first and a second for Hampton and Najee. That's a fair trade. I mean, it's a fair trade. I would say it like this. I think it's a very fair trade. I probably personally would prefer the Caleb and a first side to Hampton, but that's definitely what the market is reflective of. And if you wanted to go from Caleb to Hampton, it's going to have to be a first. I think throwing in Najee for a second is what his value is as well. But it's sneaky because now you get the entire backfield and whatever happens with it. So I like the deal. I do like the deal. Dub. Suck it, man. But yeah, Jacob, I was going to say, whenever you get that startup going, hit me up, let me know, and we'll take a look at what you've done, and we'll talk it out. Also, all you guys, if every single time that I'm doing these on the weekly Saturday, gotcha. You can come ask me anything you want. But if you got something pressing, a trade offer that's hot on the presses, whatever, make sure you go into the Discord and the Big Dog chat at me, and I'll get to you as quickly as I can on those. Kidding, of course. He says, well, obviously not kidding. This is my first Amarian share, and I'm a Chargers fan. I couldn't pass this up. No, I think it was sneaky with grabbing Najee too. It's a bit of injury insurance, as well as what if Najee ends up getting a lot of the run early, kind of gives you the entire backfield. I think it makes sense. A lot of the, again, I try not to buy in too much to, coach speak in the offseason, but every time Mike Tomlin talks about Caleb Johnson, it's like, damn, he's speaking really highly of him. So I hate to be this guy, but man, it looks like there's a possibility for all those Jaylen Warren truthers out there that this doesn't go the way that you hoped it went. I wasn't gonna sell Amari without Najee. I'm not that cruel. I mean, well, I think though that's probably true. You probably aren't that cruel, but also I think it makes sense to it's the best way that you probably get the value out of them by selling them together. So I think it makes a ton of sense. I like going the entire backfield if I can. If you didn't notice, I have Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. I did see that, by the way. I saw the Jones and Mason one, but I actually had not put together Etienne, Tootin, Amari, and Najee. I do think, especially the reason I'm kind of okay with this one, or more so okay with like the specific ones you're talking about. Like, I don't view any of these players truly as handcuffs. Jordan Mason could end up being more of a handcuff. I think, though, the role that we've seen Aaron Jones there is pretty solidified, and Jordan Mason's going to get a decent amount of run. Cam Akers was very uninspiring last year, but he got a decent amount of run, so he's probably going to get that type of workload where he's getting 10, 12 touches. But I think these backfields are ambiguous, which means a lot of the prices are lower, and you securing the entire backfield gives you flexibility for injuries, obviously, like the same as you would do with handcuffing. But it also is, okay, if we get a clear, defined starter out of these situations, you're going to be having that player where you can just set it and forget it. So I like it a lot. I'll say in lineup leagues especially, as long as you're doing it at cost, you're not reaching, I don't mind handcuffing at all. Yes, sir. We're going to do a vet-only draft and then a rookie draft after. Okay. So now doing a pick your spot in the startup, then flip it for the rookie draft. Okay. Got it. Yeah. So there's typically two ways you can do it. There's three ways actually you can do it. Once the rookie drafts are – actually, it doesn't even matter. You can draft them before. You can have it three ways no matter what. But you can have where the rookies are just inserted into the startup. That's more the traditional way, right? Then you also can do what this would typically be if you wanted to draft a startup before the NFL draft is taking place, and you want to do your rookie draft after the NFL draft is taking place, right? Where you'll draft placeholders. You'll typically see a kicker put in. So as the draft's going on, you can basically draft in the startup the 101, the 102, the 103, and then put a date out in the future for that rookie draft. You can also do this where I don't like this typically because I think now again everything is fine because there's a way to strategically build around all of it, and everybody knows ahead of time what it's going to be. But where you have the startup 101, right? We'll then have the 112. If it's a 12-team league, you'll have the startup 101. We'll get the 112 rookie pick, and then the 112 in a startup would get the 101. I will say typically I would prefer to have the caboose of that, especially if there's third round reversal involved, and then get that 101 spot. But is it derby style where you get to pick your post, so to speak? So you get to pick what spot you want in this scenario? Let me know that, Jacob. Let's definitely get the game plan ready. Tried to get the ETN Tank Tootin in a couple leagues. Yeah, I mean, in a startup, doing it in a startup is where it's a little tricky when you get three names. Like, if there's really only two, I definitely think it's a lot easier to get done. The problem with three here is, like, you're going to end up kind of hitching your ride, so to speak, to three players that are all going, like you're going to end up spending 3 picks in the first, anywhere from like round 11, 10 to 15, to get this whole backfield. And the reason it's problematic there is like there is a scenario, as much as nobody wants to hear it, where we never really get the backfield's kind of split up in an ugly 3-way committee, and then all of a sudden we don't have a clear and defined starter. That's like the worst case scenario there. Okay, so going for the turn picks would be so insanely OP in that setup. Yeah, that's exactly. You're right. The turn is honestly for me, if I have the opportunity to, like, if you're doing it derby style, I prefer to grab the turn picks anyway. But yeah, in that setup, it definitely would be, because you get the 112, 201, then the 101, right? Start up with Genty, and if it's third round, like even if it's not third round reversal, you're ahead. But if you get the 112, 201, and the 301, and you get Genty, sheesh. Okay, so randomate. I just tried to literally combine those words. That didn't make any damn sense. Correct. Random generate the group, then in order select the spot you want in the draft. Yeah, so what's always funny about those is, like, to me, I would there's still a ton of value, right, up front, where you get 101, 102, 103, Josh Allen, J-Day, or Lamar. So some people still might be going and preferring that. Me, like, if I had the first pick, I would actually legitimately go to the 112 in this one. So here, Jacob, this is actually good discussion for everybody watching, even after the fact. So tell them to throw the rookies in the draft. What I would do if there's any conflict or you're not really sure, just put it up to vote, right? Put it up to vote. Let everybody vote on it. Do you want to have the rookies included in the startup? Do you want to have the rookie draft after? And then if you do want to do the rookie draft after, do you want to have you basically can draft those picks, or do you want to have it just flip-flop? Again, there's not really a right or wrong answer once everybody agrees, or as long as everybody's aware of the situation ahead of time. Then now it just becomes a strategy standpoint, like, what pick do I want? And it comes down to kind of luck if you get a good pick or not. But you're fine regardless. But if you want to figure it out and you're not sure, put it up to a vote in the league, man. That's what I would do personally. But this 112, 201, the potential to have a 112, 201, 301, and Genty, I mean, that is, you're gonna be in trouble. You're gonna be in trouble, man. That's one of those crazy scenarios too, where it'd be one of the only times where you can get. There's a legitimate scenario where you could walk away with Bijan, Gibbs, and Genty. Crazy talk. Straight talk wireless. All right. I have a startup where I punted the running back position. Okay. Another 3-quarterback league. James loves these 3 QB leagues, man. You're a true sicko, and I love it. I'm not in the league anymore. I used to be in a 3-quarterback, which was it was actually the same as yours. 2 quarterback, 1 super flex. Scarcity is just such a scarcity on quarterbacks. It just makes it such a crazy league. I ended up winning the league the one year, and then I bowed out of the league and paid the dues ahead of time. So, but anyway, to the question, where I have May, Ward, Dart, Russ, and Stafford. See, and this is where, like, you have legitimately 5. I'm sorry, no, it would be 4, right? May, Ward, Dart, and Russ would be, combination of 3, and then Stafford 4. But yeah, when you have 4 quarterbacks in this scenario, like, that is so much leverage where you can trade away. And what always happens in these type of a league, where when bye weeks start coming around, inherently people are literally realizing they don't even have a quarterback possibly to insert into their QB spot. Plus you get, unfortunately, variance in, just you can't control who gets hurt. Some team out there that only had 2 quarterbacks or only had 3 quarterbacks gets 1 or 2 hurt, and they start dealing with buys. You have such a massive piece of leverage to trade away. So it's crazy, though. McBride, Kraft, Warren at tight end, Neighbors, Olave, Waddle, Judy at receiver. How many starters do you have in this league, James? That's another thing I wanted to ask you. James is in all 3 quarterbacks. I love to hear that. You are a true sicko. And it also, I guarantee, makes you get to these positions where you have the leverage that you do, which makes sense. Okay, no third round reversal, which, I mean, that's still fine. And you could still definitely get there's a real scenario you could end up with Genty, Gibbs, Bijan. But now you run the risk of, by the time it comes back to you, late 3rd, early 4th, I mean, you're still going to get a quarterback there. There's no way the quarterbacks are going to be an issue for you. I still prefer the 112, but it does even it out to where it makes more sense. Based on my experience, this is my ranking. Vets plus rookies over. Oh, I see. This is based on startups. So you prefer to have the vets and the rookies over the vets and the picks, and that's over vets then rookies. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that, though, where you have them all in a draft at one time. The thing about that is, though, typically you want to do your startups then, and those startups will happen after the NFL draft takes place. Because I've just found that most people don't like doing the vets and the rookies where you're drafting the rookies before they have their landing spot in their draft capital. But I'm in agreement with you, William, on this typically. I'm in a 3QB league. The cherry on top is that the QB scoring is juiced. Oh my gosh. This makes the scarcity even more of an issue, where if you have it, you're going to love it, and if you don't, you're not. But during the startup, I traded Jalen Milroe for Josh Jacobs. Holy shit. Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You can, I like to call that playing 4D chess, where you Jalen Milroe is going in the 10th round range in startups. Jacobs is like a 5th or a 6th. So that's fucking insane. But it makes sense given the fact that the QB scoring is juiced. Yeah, so I'll tell you this though, right? This is, I don't want to give this away, but this is one of the things I talk about in my startup strategy video that I have coming out, where it is, but it's also like, it's a unique like situation where punting QB outside of the first 3 picks in a startup, I agree with, waiting on quarterback, but it's also one of those things where you have to be cognizant of if people in your league start to play that game of the scarcity, right? And kind of maybe not truly hoarding, but they want to get a 3rd or a 4th on their team. You've got to really start paying attention to the quarterbacks you're comfortable with at your quarterback 1 spot as you go down. So it is, and it's also one of those things where you have to be kind of potentially willing to pivot and adjust based on how the quarterbacks are coming off the board. So in the startup I'm in right now, we got Lamar, and then we were waiting, and we had the 5-10, and I thought there was a decent chance that Dak would make it to us, but we weren't sure, and we moved up to the 5-05 to just lock him in, and the pick swap later on didn't really hurt us that much. So, go ahead and just make sure you get Dak, because if Dak would have come off the board and Goff would have come off the board and Fields would have come off the board from that point moving to us, which by the way they all did, we are now in a situation where like, oh shit, you don't love your quarterback option at all, and then someone else has leverage over you because you feel like you need to get your super flex spot. You need to improve your super flex spot. So I think it's a unique situation. You have to kind of really pay attention to the teams and the board and who has 2 quarterbacks, who has 1, who is likely to draft them and who is not, and potentially being willing to go up slightly to move and get your guy. Okay, so the lineup for this 3 quarterback league, everybody. 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and 3 flex. So is that 3 flex and then the 1 super flex option, right? So that would be 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 3 flex, and a super flex, which is a lot of starters. That'd be 4, 7, 10. Is it you starting 13? I kind of like this though. James is trying to give me that itch to go get in a 3 QB league with 13 starters right now. I fucking love it. My running back room is only Kyron, Warren, and Dobbins though. Damn. Now, do you have one thing? Actually, we could talk about this, James. Do you have that on the bench? Like, do you kind of play that any running back on a 53 approach or mindset where you're kind of stashing a bunch of people on the bench that are only an injury or 2 away? Because that I think is the way. If you're going to go thin at running back, that's cool. But I would be roster constructing to give myself as many shots at the dartboard as possible on, Sincere McCormick's and shit like that of the world, where if an injury or 2 happens, you get a starting spot out of this. Because otherwise you're going to end up spending all your fab trying to get those type of people on the wire when they come about, and you'll probably run out of fab pretty early. So obviously you have draft capital you can send for those type of players too. In footballers, I got Purdy at the 504 and Dak at the 609. Sure, yeah. Now granted, right, this is where, but that's why I talk about it, because I love this, Matt, right? I love getting Purdy at the 504 and Dak at the 609. And you can just, I don't know if you looked at, if you were kind of keeping your eye on the board and there was other people on the board that were, you were considering, right? Or if you just got lucky, or if maybe quarterbacks really got pushed down quite a bit. Maybe there was plenty of quarterbacks after Dak at the 609, that you could have drafted in place of Dak and still felt fine with your QB. So to me, it's really like this weird blend of, I'm looking, how many quarterbacks are available, like in your queue, right? How many quarterbacks do I have before that I'm comfortable with on my team when my next pick is coming up, right? So how many of those are there? And then how many picks until I'm up? And then if that number is very different, right? Let's say there's only 5 quarterbacks that you like left. You're not up, let's say, until the 504 to 609. There's 15 picks there, right? So let's say there's 12 picks left and there's 5 quarterbacks you're comfortable with, right? So now what I'm doing is eyeing up everyone that has the picks in front of me until it's my pick and kind of looking at their quarterback room and being willing to live with the results or trade up if I need to secure the quarterbacks I'm comfortable with. But this can absolutely happen, and that's the cheat code, right? If you start with 4 elite receivers and then nobody is continuing, if people just start chasing receivers, which allow the quarterbacks to fall, you profit immensely from that. I really haven't, sadly. So, James, I'm curious. What is your approach with roster construction? I would, maybe we can talk about it with some of your teams and maybe look at trying to put your teams in a better position with some roster construction. I'm not saying your roster construction isn't really good. I'm just curious what it is, and we can pull up your team maybe if you'd like as well. Got about, what do we got? 40. Yeah, we got a good 15 minutes left still. So, but again, it's your world. I'm just living in it for a little bit here. All right, Penix, Bryce, Fields, Darnold, Dart all went within a round of Dak getting taken. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. That 5th and 6th is definitely the place I would say where, like ADP wise, I'm almost positive that's about where they go. But that's the place typically where you need to be kind of cognizant in the 5th or 6th round if you're waiting on quarterback, how many are left. And I think Penix, you could see in the late 4th typically if he goes early. You could see him go all the way into the 6th round. But, yeah, this is the range for all those guys. I'll say Dart and Darnold going in a round of Dak. So them going in the 7th means that you probably really threaded the needle really well, because that's what can happen when people feel like they're running out of quarterbacks on the board is you start getting Darnold and Dart, so the world pushed up a little bit. Maddie's giving advice unsolicited. No, I'm just kidding, Maddie. You can give advice, sir. Put your comment in. If I could give some advice, James, I'd start with selling Tyler Warren. You have McBride. You already. Oh, definitely. Yeah, if it's only start one tight end, that's I would agree with Matt. That's inefficient roster construction, and that's probably a place where you could move off of them. I'll say the one thing with Tyler Warren, this is I think for me, he's typically in the leagues that I'm in, he's not a target of mine, and the reason is I just don't think there's going to be high end production out of him early, and tie that in and bake that in with, I know in my leagues how there's not going to be people that are trading for Tyler Warren and trading like really high end assets or value for him if he's having some good weeks early on. But if that's not the case in your league, the big thing about Tyler Warren is there probably are going to be some weeks where he has some nice finishes, and you could see his price during the in between when he had that, let's say, a top 5 or 6 finish for the week. Basically, that whole week until they play again that next week, you could see his market kind of balloon. So that's one of the things with Tyler Warren to bake in if you do have him and you're holding him. That's what I would be trying to play for, right? The idea of being able to trade him off of a pop week or two, because his market is already really high. But if he scores well at any point, it's going to balloon. But I'm with Matt in overall principle that I'd be looking to move Tyler Warren and try to pivot his value into another skill player or even liquidity, honestly, just being able to push that into other spots in my lineup, if that makes sense. What else y'all boys got, man? What's everybody? Any other questions for me? See several likes. Hitting that like button. Smash that like for us. We're at about 50 minutes, so typically, 50 minutes, an hour, slightly over, depending on the combo. But if you guys got any other questions, thoughts, you want me to look at a team of yours real quick, let me know those things. Do that before I get up out of here. And if not, I'll have us hop out of here. And what we're going to be doing moving forward is posting this to the channel right away afterwards, live. And that'll be available basically to everybody every Saturday afternoon. So if you do want to be a part of this Q and Assault that you can see everybody here is a part of, make sure you go over to bdge.co, become a Big Dog member. Becoming a Big Dog member, man, Matt Higgins is always gassing up the ability and kind of the awesomeness of it. You get the Dynasty rankings that I'm updating in there. You get access to the Discord, and you get access every single Saturday to come do one of these Q and Assaults. Obviously, all these fine gentlemen are also in the Discord, the Big Dog Discord, where there's a bunch of other people like-minded that are talking Dynasty, degenning out, and can yap with them in the Discord as well. Yes, you can, Maddie. Talk to me, buddy. Let's go ahead and I've got you already in the lab, so let's pull it back up. What team, my friend? Jacob says he's using the rankings constantly. Yep. And actually, I just did an update, so you should be seeing them reflective here shortly. Matt is too kind, man. Matt, you are too kind. And I'll say no you. Matt is the GOAT as well. Jacob, these are all my guys, man. Appreciate y'all. But tell me, man, what is the it's blue? Okay, it's Blue Domains League. Blues Domain League. All right. So I don't know where to go with my current state. All right. Well, that's where I got you covered, my friend. I will help you out with this. So I don't know why it does this. It tries to shift it down a little bit, but there we go. Okay. So when I'm taking a look at this team, we got Drake May, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, Emeka Egbuka, got Terry McLaurin, Brock Bowers, Trey Harris, Trey Benson, Mark Andrews, JJ McCarthy, Dylan Gabriel. Okay, so quarterback 3, Dylan Gabriel's Matt Higgins guy. Now I know there was up in the chat, he was like, Shadur Boo, you are a Dylan Gabriel guy. All right. Excuse me. Braylon Allen, Ray Davis, Jalen Noel, Jalen Milroe. How about Jalen McMillan? Xavier Legette, Adonai Mitchell. We've got Mario Douglas, Pop Douglas. Okay. Jimmy Horn, let's go. Got a couple seconds. You're down your first. Okay, so you do have your 27 picks. I mean, on the surface, I think roster construction-wise, you're obviously running thin. I think you obviously know that too. Not only are you running thin, but like we're already relying on Trey Harris and Trey Benson at the moment, and we're also having Mark Andrews as a flex spot. So I don't know how high the tight end premium is. I don't typically love putting tight ends into my flex spot unless the tight end premium kind of gets egregious. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do it, and it's not something that can end up benefiting you. That'd be something I'd look into the warp tool for, personally, for myself. But I get what you're saying here, where like on the surface, this team has a lot of dynasty value, but again, how reliable is Emeka Egbuka going to be? What's his consistency going to be in the lineup for you? And you're really top heavy, like guys like Gibbs and Brock Bowers, even Chase Brown and Terry McLaurin, all can be hammers, but the rest of your lineup is kind of limping along. Also, I'll say this: while having no real quarterback three, listen, I love Drake May, and I actually do really like JJ McCarthy, especially at cost at the moment. But these guys' production is super uncertain as well. So, you're in a precarious spot, especially being down your first in 2026. You're not going to like the answer, but I got the answer for you. And I think we've talked about this before, Matthew. So, let me tell you, you know what I'm doing, personally. I think you have a couple different options. I think, personally, the best way to clean up your make your overall starting roster the most efficient as far as production goes for contending this year, being down your first, is to, especially having Mark Andrews, you're in a unique position to truly liquidate Brock Bowers. Now, when I say that, typically you'll think, just get draft picks. I'm not actually talking about necessarily doing that. I'm just saying you're in the position to trade away Brock Bowers and target other skill spots, right? You don't have to get a tight end back. And a lot of times people don't really like to tear down from Brock Bowers. You don't have to do that. You're just trying to trade him cross-positionally. I think I'd probably try to get two. I think you could get two legitimate starters or a legitimate starter, so maybe guys in the third, fourth round, while also picking up some draft picks that you can then move into players on this roster as well. I think that's probably the best. That's probably going to be the most efficient way to clean up this team while still being young, having the opportunity to contend, which I think you'd like to do with this squad. The other scenario is you can kind of you could kind of wait and see and go into the year with this current assembly of team. The biggest problem I have with that is I don't think, unless things break right for you, like they hit closer to that 90th percent or higher outcome, I don't think this team is like surefire gonna be in a great position record-wise. It could be, but I think there's also a scenario where you have some disappointing weeks from plenty of the guys in your lineup. And then at that point, the reason I say this is because if that happens, now getting your first back, if you're like on the outside looking in from the playoffs, is not going to be easy to get done. And you're not going to be in a contending spot. You're kind of going to feel like, I feel like that's one of the worst places to be in Dynasty, is not having your first and not being a competitive roster. So the reason I say that is, if you want to contend and you're kind of preferring to try to contend this year, I think trading Brock Bowers cross positionally and probably getting two pieces or potentially three out of him makes a lot of sense. If you don't want to do that, I don't know who has your pick. Maybe you'd be in a position possibly to get your pick back reasonably, and then you could go, a little more rebuild, a little more in a rebuild direction if that was something you wanted to do. I don't know who has it. Let me go see. This person down here has a ton of draft picks, I imagine. Aha. See? So you've got somebody who's at the bottom, I'm sure trying to accrue picks and not looking to give them back to you. So that's my answer, man. That is my answer. If you want to do it, I think the cleanest and easiest way to do it is actually trading away Brock Bowers. The problem is, I get it. Like I wouldn't necessarily just tell you trade Brock Bowers for the sake of trading him away. But I think this is a roster that you could end up with. You could end up, instead of having Trey Harris and Trey Benson in your spot, as well as Mark Andrews in your flex spot. All three of those flex spots, I think, with the trade of Brock Bowers, could be solved by now Andrews becomes your tight end, right? And at least two of those three flex spots will be significantly better and kind of help you increase your depth. And then you can play the last flex spot, as needed based on how you see these players are doing. And you also still have those seconds that you can go buy spot starts if you need to, or a player that's exceeding expectations during the season. So that would be my personal recommendation to you. I'm an Oregon fan. I can see that now. All right. Half point tight end premium, by the way. Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to rebuild, here's the thing. What's done is done. Sometimes you may just have to go rebuild if that's really what you'd like to do and not have your pick back. It just sucks, and you're going to have to kind of rip the Band-Aid off, so to speak. You could go to that person and see if you can get your pick back, but the fact that he's drove his team to the bottom of the league and has multiple picks probably means he's unlikely to want to do that. And if he's savvy at all, he's going to know exactly what you're trying to do and why you're getting your pick back, which should make the price of the brick go up, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? Look, you guys act like I don't do this, all right? Tired of you acting like I don't do this. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, and I'm sure you don't want to do that. So, you know what to do. You may not like it, but you are not confused. You know exactly what you need to do. Speaking of what you need to do, if you're stuck around at this point to this spot in the video, make sure you please go down into the comments, at least put some comments, show a little love to all of our big dogs, to myself putting this together for you every Saturday. Make sure you hit the like button. And if you're at this spot, I'd seriously consider giving the Big Dog membership a try. $9.99 a month, give you rankings every single week, some Q and Assault, a dope place in the Discord, private Discord channel where all of the other Big Dog members and you can talk to me directly, interact with each other. It's the place to be, man. So go do all that. Other than that, my beautiful big dogs, I love you. I'll see you back here, same time, same place, next week, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern for the Big Dogs. We're out of here. Peace.